from interesting people in this audience. I'm here as the director of the American Culture Institute, who has been organizing, among many other things, this series of late afternoon talks. And we call them talks about what we talk about when we talk about America, drawing on someone that you know for inspiration, because we wanted these talks to be sort of informal, so to have people participate after our guest delivers the talk that has prepared. And every now and then we are fortunate to have very distinguished guests. And today it is one of these occasions. So I want to welcome and say that we are very honored to have Siri Hustvedt with us. And we are looking forward to hearing you talk about. I was reading your book and I just came across one of these. It is impossible to divine a story while you are living it. It is shapeless. And then it follows. I'm sure you are going to talk about things like this. So thank you very much for coming, and I give the stage to Cecilia.
Yes, I just have a few. Siri doesn't need an introduction, but on the other hand, she works in so many varied and different areas that I feel some of us know Siri the writer. Others know Siri related to neuroscience. I think that's why we definitely have to give Siri a short introduction. Siri's been a published author since 1981, writing both poetry and prose. Though we probably know her prose more than her poetry. We're all familiar with What I Loved, The Enchantment of Lily Dallin, or Sorrows of an American, or this most recent book, Summer Without Men, which I read with my husband and all of his school friends, so I had to hide it. but it was a wonderful, wonderful book. But Siri's unusual because she's not just an author, but she's also a scholar. A literary scholar because she has her PhD in Dickens and Figures of Dust, Language and Identity in Charles Dickens, where she explores the relationship between narrative and the dialogue and conceptualization of self. But she's not just a literary scholar. She's gone beyond. She's gone into neuroscience, into psychoanalysis. And she's been extraordinarily generous by sharing her knowledge and also her life, like this, the Shaking Woman is just the most personal book, yet it's also so informative and informed in so many different areas that one of the reasons everyone really was thrilled when Siri agreed to come was because in the American Studies line, one of the areas we've been looking at lately is rethinking the arts, the crossing over to the arts and the sciences. And really, there's no one that can kick the ball off better than Siri in this area. And also, curiously, Siri's worked with a graduate of this university, a different faculty of medicine, but António Damasio is well known to every Portuguese, everybody in Portugal. And it's just really nice that Siri has also worked with neuroscientists like Damasio, like Panzer. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I think probably there are not that many people here from the neurosciences. So when I come to that, you'll have to bear with me. There are some stories, and I may pause and just very briefly say about a brain region if I mention it. But don't worry about it, because I think there's enough. So that even if you haven't been memorizing the parts of the brain, you'll be fine. This is a paper, and it will be published in the journal Neuropsychoanalysis. I think in the next issue, which is coming in December, if Vittorio Gallese gets in his peer review. So answers that question. Yes.
You told about your article in a special journal, and my question is, was it difficult for you to place it there? Because there are neuropsychologists, and they are from the medical perspective, and yours is another profession.
Yes, but I have I've become pretty deeply involved in, especially in the neurosciences, and I have what Damasio calls, he says, Siri, you have a good working knowledge of neuroscience, which I do. That doesn't mean I know everything, it just means I have a good working knowledge of neuroscience. And so this paper was submitted to neuropsychoanalysis, and they wanted it. Of course it is different because I use the first person in this paper, but it's all very heavily referenced. When I got the proofs back, they kept saying, there were several places where they wanted yet another reference. There's lots of references. But it's a lot of, for me it's been a great pleasure to step across boundaries and it's fun. I'm having fun, and I think I really want to know why people are who they are. Why do we become who we are? And for me, neurobiology has to be part of that puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle by any means, but it's a little part, and I think it's that got me going. So for about 10, 11 years, I've been reading a lot.
I wondered if also in your research also analyzed the body memory, for instance, as from professional dancers.
Oh yeah, well dancers are probably the best example of learned bodily memories. And there was a beautiful study that you might know about mirroring. So they did a brain scan study on dancers watching other dancers. And they found that there were different activations in dancers watching dancers, that, for example, when a dancer would move just looking at the dancer, that the muscles, the brain regions that are implicated in certain movements would light up. Whereas people who weren't dancers did not have the same recognition. But dancing, all these things we do, really almost driving is the big example in consciousness studies. If I read another thing about, are you paying attention when you drive? Well, in some way, and another part of you is just on autopilot. And sports, another great example. Dancers, people playing sports. I figured out when I was about, 45 years old, if I didn't think about catching the ball, I could catch it. I was a little slow. Oh yes, oh, Adam.
Yeah, I'm a little side-acted, a little outside of, is there, do you know a neurobiological explanation for deja vu, like what's actually happening?
Oh, I was at a conference. Where was I? I was at a conference not long ago. Oh, no, I was doing a talk with the neuroscientist. I was on stage, but he was saying that there are theories, and it has to do with I think areas of the hippocampus that are it's like they're getting refired. The implicated neural circuits are sort of coming again. Whether it's true or not, but they're definitely theories. You can probably Google it.
When you were talking about the narrative self, that we live in time, we live in a subjective time. What happened before will affect our anticipation of the future. And as working with literature, I'm thinking of how literature can be used to maybe alter. I'm thinking of programs like Changing Lives Through Literature that's been used in the States, where through literature programs, people's lives have changed. So this fictional involvement, do you think that this?
Yes, I think that what's interesting about great fiction, we all have great books that we remember and care about, is that great works of art create a recognition in the reader, listener, or viewer. But that recognition couldn't have happened without the work of art. In other words, we've been at the movies lately. So when you know the story in advance, and that's something very different. That's not a great work of art. Right? When the plot moves along, you know exactly what's going to happen. You know it right from the beginning because the conventions are so deeply established. But for me, the works of art that have meant the most are those where I see something, human, or in a way even about my own experience that I couldn't have found without that work. I mean, Proust is a great example. You go, oh yeah, it's like that, but of course without Proust, it's not clear that I could have recognized.
So just last two questions.
Would you say that your writing is a mixture between your emotions but at the same time you try to project some sort of scientific belief or thought?
I think there are no messages, but what happens is, of course, that when you become interested in various things, various disciplines, they have a tendency to bleed into your fiction. And not the Shaky Women, but the last novel, I was thinking about the problem of difference. It's a kind of little disquisition, not just on sexual difference, but so there were these medical stories and neurobiological jokes that just appeared and they got in there.
How much do you plan out your books before you begin? And how much do they kind of just come to you as you write?
I don't plan them out, but I, think about them, dream about them, listen to the characters, and often I'll have an arc in my mind of where a story is going, but it doesn't always go there. So it doesn't always obey my command.
Siri,
Oh, thank you
so much.